Sergeants, can we please start the recordings?
Cloud recording is up.
Okay. Sergeant Polite with the opening, please.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the remote hearing on governmental operations. For council members and staff, please turn on their video at this time. Thank you. To minimize disruptions, please place all cell phones and electronics to vibrate. To send testimony, please send it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that's testimony@council.nyc.gov. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, I'm Councilmember Sandra Ong, Chair of the Committee on Governmental Operations. Today's hearing will focus on the 2021 waiver determinations of the Report and Advisory Board Review Commission. As some of you may know, this commission is responsible for reviewing all reporting requirements in the New York City Charter and Administrative Code. If the commission determines that a particular reporting requirement is no longer justified, it has the authority to waive the requirement. Any waiver made by the commission may be approved or rejected by the City Council in 121 days. Last December, the commission voted to waive 6 different reporting requirements in the City Charter and Administrative Code. Each of these 6 requirements is described in detail in the commissioner's determination letter, which was submitted to the City Council on December 30th and is available for download on the website of the Mayor's Office of Operations. For the members of the committee, the determination letter is also attached to today's committee report as Exhibit A1, apologies. Today, the committee will hear from Daniel Steinberg, who is the director of the Mayor's Office of Operations and serves as the chair of the Report and Advisory Board Review Commission, to obtain additional context on the commission's recent waiver determination. In addition, the committee will be considering a resolution to reject 2 of the waivers made by the commission and approve the remaining 4. The committee will also be hearing a companion bill to remove any language in the Administrative Code and Charter that would be nullified by the passage of the resolution. And with that, I want to thank Director Steinberg for joining us today. I also want to thank our committee staff, Senior Financial Analyst Sebastian Bacci, and Senior Legislative Counsel CJ Murray for their work in putting this hearing together. Finally, I want to thank my own Chief of Staff, Alexander Hart, for assistance. I will now turn it over to our moderator, Committee Counsel CJ Murray, to go over some procedural items.
Thank you, Chair. I'm CJ Murray, Counsel to the Committee on Governmental Operations. Before we begin testimony, I want to remind all hearing participants that you will be on mute until you are called on to testify, at which point you will be unmuted by a member of the staff. The first panelist to give testimony today will be Daniel Steinberg, Director of the Mayor's Office of Operations and Chair of the Report and Advisory Board Review Commission. In addition, Fiona Peach, Assistant Director for the Project Management at the Mayor's Office of Operations, will be available to answer questions. During the hearing, if a council member would like to ask a question of a specific panelist, please use the Zoom raise hand function and I will call on you in order. We'll be limiting council member questions to 5 minutes, which includes the time it takes the panelists to answer your question. Please note that for ease of this virtual hearing, there will not be a second round of questioning outside of questions from the committee chair. As a reminder, all hearing participants may submit written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. We will now hear testimony from the administration. Before we begin, I will administer the oath. Daniel Steinberg and Director Steinberg and Assistant Director Peach, please raise your right hand. I will read the oath once and then call on each of you individually for a response. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions? Director Steinberg?
Yes.
Assistant Director Peach?
Yes.
Thank you. You may begin your testimony.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay. Good morning, Chair Ung and members of the Committee on Governmental Operations. My name is Dan Steinberg. I'm Director of the Mayor's Office of Operations and serve as Chair of the Report and Advisory Board Review Commission, which we'll call RABRIC. I'm joined here today by Fiona Peach, the Assistant Director of our Project Management Unit, and who's led the revival of RABRIC. Before I address the items in front of us, allow me to provide a brief overview of the work done by the Mayor's Office of Operations and RABRIC. Operations was created in 1977 by executive order. The office plans, coordinates, and directs governmental operations and holds city agencies and offices accountable. Operations has since grown into a project and performance management, research, and customer service engine that works to make New York City a fairer and more equitable place for its residents. The city relies on operations to strengthen efficiency and coordination within government. To serve this purpose, operations provides agencies with research and analysis, project and performance management, advisory support. Some of these projects in the past have included key mayoral initiatives like the city's Vaccine Command Center, Vision Zero, IDNYC. The office also publishes the Mayor's Management Report, the only publication of its kind in the country to track agency performance year over year, spanning over almost 2,000 performance indicators. RABRIC was created in 2010 when voters approved the Charter Review Commission proposal to review and assess the continued usefulness of reporting requirements and advisory boards established by city charter, administrative code, and unconsolidated provisions of local law. The commission is chaired by the director of the Mayor's Office of Operations, and voting members consist of representatives from the City Council, Law Department, the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications, now under the Office of Technology and Innovation, and OMB. RABRIC seeks to identify and eliminate outdated, duplicative, and unnecessary reporting and advisory board requirements with the goal of enhancing government efficiency and productivity, hence the connection to operations. In weighing whether to grant a report waiver, RABRIC considers 4 primary criteria that are outlined in the charter. 1, utility. Does the report provide useful information for evaluating activities or results of city programs? Does it provide useful information for assessing effective management of city resources? 2, redundancy. Does the information exist elsewhere? Is it wholly or partially duplicative of another report? Relevance. Our world is constantly changing. Does a particular report, is it still necessary? Is it still clear in a very different policy context? And benefit. Is the information in a report worth the cost of production? So again, this is involved kind of cost benefit methodology that doesn't come down to any one criteria, but really must be weighed together and in relation to one another. At its public meeting on December 10th, 2021, RABRIC voted to waive 6 reports. The assessment of city facilities regarding certain clean on-site power generation technologies, the high pedestrian crash location report, the New York City Sports Commission report, the 911 operational time analysis report, the annual youth services report, and the community services block grant report. According to the city charter, the council has authority to approve or disapprove these waiver recommendations. And in the pre-considered resolution before the committee today, the council intends to approve 4 of these recommendations and disapprove 2. The 2 waiver recommendations the council is approving, disapproving, that is, the 2 reports that they intend to maintain are the 911 operational time analysis report and the annual youth services report. So as you know, RABRIC recommended waiving the 911 operational time analysis report because it was deemed duplicative of the subject matter and substance of other mandated reports. The benefits and usefulness of the report didn't outweigh the expenditure of public resources, therefore, and the report is irrelevant in light of changing circumstances, current information needs, and technological advances. So RABRIC did not receive any public comments or commissioner testimony in opposition to the waiver. And similarly, RABRIC recommended waiving the annual youth services report because it was determined that it was duplicative of other reporting. The benefits and usefulness of the report didn't outweigh the expenditure of public resources to produce it, and RABRIC did not receive any public comments in opposition to the waiver. The RABRIC members from the administration stand by their votes as to the merits of the waiver recommendation, but fully recognize and respect council's authority to disapprove the recommendations. Operations agrees with council that information required in these reports are important for both policymakers and the public, and we're fully committed to making government data accessible. And most importantly, we look forward to working in partnership with the council and building consensus toward future determinations. The Mayor's Office of Operations and RABRIC remain committed to enhancing government efficiency by eliminating redundant government reports while ensuring access to government data. We look forward to working with each of you to identify reports that can be eliminated in the future. And we thank you for the opportunity to testify today. In reality, we're very pleased that RABRIC is getting the serious attention, and we look forward to collaborating over the next 8 months as we just recently entered the new cycle for considering reports and board retirement. So thank you again, and we're very happy to answer questions.
Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Chair Ung. Chair, if you'd like to ask any questions at this time, please feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. And I also been joined by my colleague, City Council Member Gail Brewer. So one question is how does the Report Advisory Board Review Commission identify reports that may be candidates for waiver?
Apologies, I made the mistake of muting myself. If I do that, I guess I'm muted in perpetuity. Right now, we entered a fairly involved process of reaching out to agencies and soliciting proposals. And of course, we welcome the proposals of any of the commission members. And Fiona, feel free to embellish or
Sure.
Or
so the regular process that we've entered now is on an annual basis, we solicit candidates from every city agency. Operations takes a first look to make sure that the candidates meet the 4 criteria outlined by at least one of the 4 criteria outlined by the charter. And then the full commission reviews, and we go through a lengthy process of questions and answers between agencies and commission members. But we also do take suggestions from commission members if they happen to independently know of reports that might be outside of what agencies submitted.
Thank you. You also testified that the annual youth service report is duplicative of other reporting. Can you be a little bit more detailed about that? Where are the reportings of the youth? The annual youth service reports?
Okay, I won't go through every data attribute in detail, but the data from the report can be found in the MMR, and contracts data on open data, in Passport, and then separate reporting on community development block grant funding.
Is it available on the open data portal?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Some of it is available in the
Oh,
open
I'm
data
sorry.
portal.
Thank you, Fiona.
Yeah, but given the nature of having a lot of that information published in different places, it's not quite as simple as having it all on open data in one place.
Thank you. And can you just walk us through the commissioner's reasoning for voting to waive the report on the 911 response times?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very similar in the sense that the police department reports response time data and open data in the MMR and elsewhere. And we just feel that those are better, more accessible, more contextual ways to access that data. And it is required by local law, a different local law, to be reported on open data. So it was determined that this report was duplicative and potentially confusing.
Okay, I'm gonna follow with that. What would it be confusing?
Well, there are certain requirements that don't necessarily translate especially well, such as the tour metric, which the tour time metric is something that's required by the initial report, but that's not necessarily a data point that's as straightforward to sort of calculate as the local law sort of implies. It's not a stable concept because it refers to both time of day and a group of resources, and they overlap in complex ways. So you have some units working 12-hour tours while others are working 8-hour tours. So it's not a straightforward data point in the way that the local law sort of frames it. Other than that, all of the data in terms of response times is available, and the local law that mandates that is very much in place.
What is the local law that requires the information to be on open data?
Fiona, if you have it in front, I think no.
I'm looking for it. So the local law is actually relevant to the fire department. They were required to put their response time data on open data, and then the police department followed suit. Separately, there's a reporting requirement for the police department in the ad code to publish their response time data in the MMR. And that ad code provision is 14.149. So that's the legal requirement for PD to publish their response time data in the MMR, but there's no law requiring PD to publish their data to open data. They're just following suit to the fire department related law.
Thank you, Fiona, for clarifying, and apologies to the council.
Okay, understood. I'm done with my questioning. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm now calling council members in the order they've used the Zoom raise hand function. Council members, if you'd like to ask a question, you've not yet raised your hand, please do so now. I see Councilmember Brewer has her hand raised.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I have to say, I have been on the MMR committee in the past, so I'm quite familiar with what you do. I think there's a lot of work to be done on still, and as the author of the open data bill, I'm always pushing for more data, more transparency, and how you got there. So one question I have, even in addition to this, I have a list of all the reports that the city of New York is supposed to give to the city council. And one of the challenges, I didn't know if you looked at this, is a lot of them have not been fulfilled in terms of the material that they're supposed to give to the council. Do you look at that? And what are you doing about it? I can give you, I passed like 3 or 4 laws. I've been around for a long time. And I've passed 3 or 4 laws that are not being fulfilled. So what are you doing about that? In addition to looking at the reports, whether they should or should not exist, some of them are not fulfilling what they're supposed to. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, I should let Fiona weigh in, but in a certain respect, this entire RABRIC work is a big compliance oversight exercise because it does require us to look at the full body of reports that are required on the books and assess which ones are being done dutifully and which have slipped over the years. And so this, in a way, this commission is a very important instrument for advancing both the compliance work, but also for identifying reports that haven't been done and potentially escalating them through this instrument. And in some cases, I think the fact that they're not done, that alone is not criteria for eliminating them, obviously.
No, I don't want,
Right.
I don't actually want them eliminated.
Of course, you want them done.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. So we work closely with Doris, the Department of Records, because they are the official, warehouse and gatekeeper, record keeper of reporting requirements. And we'd be eager to know of any reports that are not in compliance right now, because it very much is something that we take seriously. The city now has an internal compliance officer that works at City Hall, the former deputy controller for audits, Marjorie Landa. And I think part of the purview of her work is to really make sure that the city is in compliance with all of these reporting requirements. So we've begun working closely with her on those sorts of issues. But Fiona,
Yeah.
please weigh in.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think we look at our role as RABRIC exactly as the charter describes it, and that is for us to waive unnecessary reporting requirements. We are not the compliance arm. It's not our job as RABRIC to enforce that agencies meet these reporting requirements, but we're very aware of agencies that aren't meeting them through the DARIS portal, because that is something that they've taken on as a role due to local law passed in, I think it was 2019.
So I should talk to Pauline Toole then about making sure they get enforced. Is that what you're telling me? Because I don't
I think
want
Pauline Toole will be able to tell you who is not. If you look at the DARIS required publications portal, it'll show you the last date something was published,
I
and
know,
she'll
I
be
have
able to
that.
point you to those agencies. But it's the
I copied
agencies.
I copied the whole thing, so I have it right here. I have the list. I have the
That-
file, but I want to know who's in charge. So Doris can give me the information, but is it Marjorie who's going to tell them? I can, I passed a bill about local food. DCAS is not giving us where they're employing and utilizing and buying local food, just as an example for their agencies. That's one example. They are doing 2 out of 35 mandated criteria. That's just, one example. So I'm just trying to think of who. So it's Marjorie that's going to tell me that she's going to tell the agencies what to do. I'm trying to figure out how this silo stuff works.
Totally. It's a very legitimate question. I think we're just muddling the waters because we're sort of conflating RABRIC with the Office of Operations and our sort of mission in general. I think operations is an appropriate place for you to escalate these types of compliance issues, and we're very happy to follow up and really take these issues seriously.
Okay,
So
because I'll give you my list, and then I'd like to try to get, if they're not going to be complying, I want to know why. What's going, is it a staff issue, et cetera? What's going on? So, because it makes no sense to have this information and not have it in the public and be transparent, because that's why the bill was passed. Now, are you going to be looking at other waiver proposals in the future? What's the agenda here?
yes, the new cycle was just initiated last week. We had our first meeting. We actually conducted a more aggressive outreach to the agencies this time to make sure that we weren't just circling the same agencies over and over. Melanie LaRocca, who's the Chief Efficiency Officer, has gotten involved. So Melanie is now an advisory board member, or a board member in an advisory role, but is very much our partner in this work. So we have a robust lineup of potential reports for consideration. And the only point, it's an obvious point, but it's very important not to make assumptions based on the name or the topic of the report. That each determination must be rooted in the formal criteria involving redundancy, because there's no way to debate the merits of these recommendations without digging into the details. In most cases, the reports have been superseded by other reporting that's more frequent or more relevant or easier to digest. And so all the reports sound very important, and they may have been very important in the moment that they were originally required, but we're just sort of suggesting that everybody dig into the weeds with us and really take this seriously.
Okay. Now, the other issue is if we're gonna send, and I understand this, to the open data platform, who is this? This is, it's not operations, but who's in charge of making sure it's not just do it? Who's in charge of refreshing, real timing, double checking, because people make suggestions for open data? I know you just set the 911 to some convoluted, I don't know what the hell it was, information, I don't know.
Admin code number, yes.
I know, but that's hard for people to know. When they see a report, then they have more understanding of where the data is. So
Absolutely.
Who's in charge of open data, making sure the suggestions that Noel Hidalgo or anybody else puts in there are responded to? And there is work to be done on open data. I'm on it all the time. So who's in charge of that?
That's the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics, led by Martha Norick. They really see their office as in addition to all of the technical kind of contributions they make to government operations, they're the ambassadors of the city's data. They run Open Data Week, and they do conduct a lot of outreach and engagement. I have a feeling Noel has Martha on speed dial.
He does.
So yeah, so we work very closely with MODA. They're really our closest partners, and
So do they get
yeah.
consulted about the waiving of certain reports or not? Are they part of that discussion?
They're not technically part of the committee, but I think you're right that it makes sense to strengthen their relationship to this work. And I'll take your recommendation, or you haven't made this recommendation, but I think we should invite the director of MODA to future RABRIC meetings.
No, I should know this, but is the review commission, I'm sorry, one more question, then I could go on all day, Chair, as you know, this is my thing. I can go on. I used to chair this committee. I know it. But the first issue is who's on this review commission? I know I should know this. Is it all internal or are there external people too?
The external, no, it's 4 appointees from the mayor, and the council has,
Right.
right.
We have one, I think, one person, right?
Let's see, 7 votes. So ops.
3
right,
from council.
3 from council.
Okay.
So 4, right. Ops, OTI, OMB, and law are the 4 administration ones. That's right.
I think you should, if I may suggest, at least on consultation, work with some others so you're not so siloed. That would be my other suggestion. Thank you very much. I could go on about the MMR, but
No, thank you. And Councilmember Brewer, I'm a longtime fan, and I want you to know that we have an announcement today. And I can't break news, but we feel very good about our work modernizing the MMR.
well, you need it.
Exactly. It's in a sorry state in terms of the interface and the
Very
public's
sorry.
ability to access data.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep,
Okay.
stay tuned.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you,
just
Madam
add
Chair.
one more point on the makeup of the commission. We have 7 voting members. We also have advisory members in Doris. Pauline Toole sits with us, and we recently had Melanie Baraka, Chief Efficiency Officer, join us. So it would make sense to have other advisory members in the form of
Maybe MODA too.
Martha from MODA. Yep.
Oh,
We're open
and
to
one
that.
last point: if the meeting was open to the public, and
But nobody shows up, Daniel. You know how
well, a
that-
reporter showed up, which was
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah,
And I bet I can tell you exactly who it was without even knowing.
I think you're right about that,
Thank
but we welcome that, and it's really deserves kind of scrutiny. So,
Okay.
yep,
Thank you.
sure.
Chair, I don't believe any other council members have their hand raised, and no members of the public have signed up to testify at today's virtual hearing. So I'll turn it back to you to close this out.
Thank you. I also want to recognize we're joined by my colleague, Council Member Hanif. Again, thank you all for your testimony today. And I guess, oh, my gavel, sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.